Hola, Cosmolinos and Cosmolinettes. Welcome to the Shark Tank.
We were after the most dangerous fish in the ocean. The big fish.
Now, you had a question.
Yeah. Are there any sharks around here?
It's the Shark Tank Radio Show!
Cozumel, Cozumel, Cozumel Radio.
Hola, Tankers. Sharky here, and wow, hey, things are taking off. We've started this blog situation, and things are taking off with that. We're getting that all together. We're actually selling ad space on that. So we invite everybody to go to Blogger and look up the Shark Tank Radio Show and join us on there. Follow us, and the more followers we get, the better we can go and expand this Shark Tank thing and eventually get back to where we need to be. So, but today is at first. This is very, very exciting. On Cozumel we've got somewhere around 30, 35 named dive sites on the island. Most of them, of course, are south of the International Pier and in the park. And then we've got Barracuda and San Juan up north, and a few on the other side of the island, namely the Galleons, which I plan to get on one of these days. I'm going to get over there and do that. And speaking of that, one of the only ways of getting over there is with Aldora Divers and our buddy Dave Dillehay and his crew. And man, they have a good dive op. And if you're looking for a good dive op, that is a place to go. One of our finest on this island, by the way. But Dave and his crew, and early this year, took it upon, or last year, 2013. We're in 14 already. When did that happen? Early in 2013, he and his crew decided to start doing some explorations on the northwest side of the island. Fishermen for years have been telling them that looks like there's some good dive sites out there. Of course, as they're going over the reefs, they can see them and tell, what would be a good dive site. And they've been having rumors of all this for several years. So Dave and crew, particularly his crew, and we'll talk a little bit more about those guys here in a minute, because most of the new dive sites are named after them, which is just really cool. And so we'll talk about them here in a second. But first of all, they just decided to do some explorations up there, and they have found several really nice dive sites. Usually, if you're an advanced diver and you've been up to Barracuda and San Juan, you know that you're going to get on your horse, and that's a ride. These dive sites, the currents are much calmer, much more like we're used to on the southern reefs. And in particular, what Sharky loves best, of course, they have found two, not one, but two shark caves up there, where sleeping sharks, as we say, are inside of them. And one of them, Memo Mendoza, is fine, a dive master, as well as Dave's business partner there at Aldora, and general manager of the whole operation. And he has posted a video on YouTube, which we'll put a link to that on the blog, so you take a look at this 17-minute video, which is really cool. But you can actually get a look at that dive site, which is a very large outcrop cave. You can actually see light in the background, so it's not a completely enclosed cave, but it is very large. And kind of as you get back to where the sharks are, it kind of narrows down a little bit. But they're not Galapagos, but the beautiful Caribbean reef shark. They have found several sleeping in these caves, and been able to get quite close to them, with the sharks pretty much paying no attention to them whatsoever. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute, and then get into all those caves. But first, let's see if we can do a dive report.
Hi, this is Lori from Grand Prairie, Texas, and you're listening to the Shark Tank Dive Report on CosmelRadio.net.
Yeah, I got to get somebody else to do some of these dive reports for me. I've got another dive op lined up, and we just haven't been able to hook up and get things done. But we'll get somebody else to do dive ops for us besides me all the time. But the water temps are still up around 80 degrees, and it's just beautiful. Visibility is still 100 feet or better, and sea life is just super active this time of year. Eagle ray season is still going like mad up there at Barracuda and up in San Juan. So advanced divers, come on down, get up to Barracuda, get some eagle ray time in. And this is Sharky with the dive report on the Shark Tank.
This is Captain Angus Quinn of the pirate ship, the Black Queen. You're listening to the Shark Tank on Cozumel Radio.net.
Cozumel, Cozumel, Cozumel Radio.
Okay, so let's jump right into this. First of all, I want to point out that this is no haphazard venture by Aldora divers. They are taking this very slow. None of these sites are open for commercial diving as of this point that I know of, and the time of this recording anyway, let's put it that way. So they're taking it very slowly. They're working with park authorities, they're working with people on the island, and as well as just making sure that everything is safe. And by the time they get divers on there, everybody is going to come back home all in one piece like they should. Aldora Divers works with underwater GPS on their dive masters. They make sure everybody has a sausage in the water. The boats have redundant GPS as well as GPS tracking. They're able to track those guys in the water, the dive masters. So hang close to your DM, please. And if you want more information on this, go to aldora.com. And Dave's got all the information about all their safety features, and actually a little story about this Polar Express on there. But I think we're going to cover most of that in one of these 2 sessions that we're going to do. Today we're just going to zip through the dive sites themselves here really quick, give you a brief explanation. And this weekend coming up is the Texas Dive Show in Arlington, Texas, and Sharky is going to try to attend that and get with Mr. Memo Mendoza himself and see if we can actually do a little interview with Memo and get the lowdown. He's probably the best person. He's the shot of the video that I talked about earlier, and he's going to be here in Arlington, so I'm going to try to get with him, and we're going to do a little bit talking about that this weekend if we can. And if not, we're just going to get a little bit more into what I can find out from him and stuff. If he's a little camera shy, or microphone shy, we'll see what happens with that. But first, the first dive site. Let's just start at Barracuda, work our way up. First dive site is, of course, going to be called Barracuda Balones, and it's pretty close to the Barracuda dive site, which is known for ripping currents, by the way. And this is not. It is a flock, as it's been described, of house-sized balloon coral heads. If you've ever dove Chincana Balones, it gets its name from the shape of the coral heads there. They're kind of rounded and look kind of balloonish, and that's where they get their names. And all these house-sized balloon coral heads are separated by very large sand dunes, which is a complete new, unique dive site to Cozumel. So I'm very excited to get there and take a look at this. Then second up on the list is Hazard Reef, which is actually Hazard Reefs plural, because it's quite a large stretch. It's a stair-stepped wall, a series of ledges, if you will, and it's named after Steve Hazard, a gentleman who works with Aldora, who has actually done most of the exploration up there. So they honored him by letting him name this dive site after old Steve-O, and we're calling it Hazard's Reef. And it is like I said, a wall, and similar to Palancar. Actually, you can be, if you're on a normal type of current type dive, it's probably going to take you 3 tanks to do it. But one of those days where the current's really moving, you can probably zip down the whole thing with one of Aldora's 120 strapped to your back. So that there you go, another wall dive for everybody to get on. And then next up is a place called Dry Creek. As its name implies, it looks a lot like a dry creek, like you'd find out in good old West Texas, beautiful West Texas. And except this creek kind of works its way as a shallow dive with lots of sea life, and the creek kind of works its way down towards the wall. And from what I understand, this is the latest lionfish hunting site on the island. So all you spear fishermen and lionfish hunters, this would be a new place for us to get out there and do that. It's called Dry Creek. And then Dave has two guys working for him he describes as his Mayan warriors, Gato and Chino. And Chino's Blue Coral is the next dive site. It's another shallow dive site, much like Dry Creek, but includes some very unique blue corals, which is very exciting. I'm a reef nut. I don't know if I've made this clear enough, but I love just having my nose stuck in the coral and just enjoying the reef itself. I can find the fish any day, but if you really get into that reef itself and get your nose in there and just really start studying what's going on there, you'll be amazed what you can find. And so anyway, Chino's Blue Coral, another place, lots of fish up there and a great new hunting ground as well. And then there's Gato's Reef. This is way north up there, near the north end, and it's one of the more spectacular reefs that they found anywhere on Cozumel. And another animal that we don't see a lot on Cozumel unless if a storm coming in are dolphins. Gato's Reef has a semi-resident dolphin. They've already given him a name. They're calling him Nick because he got a little nick out of the back of his tail there. So, or the back of his dorsal fin, I should say. I'm sorry. But, so here we go. We got Gato's Reef. We've got Nick the dolphin. We've got more lionfish hunting. We've got Balones. We've got, finally, on the list, Memo's Wall. And I saved that last because, like I said, I'm going to try to get with Memo Saturday and see if we can get some lowdown on this whole thing. It's north of the Hazard Reef and presents a grand vista of the abyss, much like Maracaibo or, on the south walls. And just, one more thing. And finally, last but of course not least, are the Sleeping Shark Caves. And one is a little bit, I'm not exactly sure the location of it, but the two are separated by nearly a half mile or a little over a half mile from each other. And they are both large outcrops from what I've been able to see from the photographs and videos that I've seen. And there are Caribbean reef sharks in there taking a snooze, waiting for night to come to go out and hunt. And again, usually on Cozumel, we're guaranteed that we're going to see nurse sharks, but we don't see reef sharks on a regular basis, except for in the winter months when the water cools down, quote unquote, if you will. I think it's still 82 degrees there, 80 degrees, so it hasn't cooled down, if you will. But I think the winter months do bring in the larger fish onto our reefs, and that's when most people see the sharks, the black tips and the reef sharks down in the southern reefs. So this is very exciting. This sounds like this is the type maybe year-round type diving. I'm trying to find out if this is going to be year-round sites, because I'm not sure how the weather works up there. I don't know if you get up into the summer months, if the currents take up considerably up at that end of the reef or that end of the island. So we'll find out more about that hopefully this Saturday when we talk to Memo. And this is just crazy. As I've actually been putting this piece together and this earlier segments of this very episode, a third shark cave has been found up on the north end. It's the furthest north point is what he tried to say of all these dive sites so far. And all these sites are like 70, 80 feet of water, so it's going to be your first dive of the day. But man, shark diving on Cozumel. Now we just need to conserve it just right and do this just right, and this will be very, very cool for all of us on the island. So there you go. There's a look at the Aldora Polar Express, and our first look actually. We're going to try to get together and memo and kind of bring this all together again next week. But here's our first look at it, and we hope you are excited as we are about doing some new diving on Cozumel. This is just great. If you want to contact the show, you always contact me at cozsharktank@att.net. Please, please, please go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Blogger, and as always, like us on Facebook. This is Sharky for the Shark Tank at CozmelRadio.net. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Cozumel.